Hello, my name is Jim. This is my podcast, The Bloody Vegans. You're very welcome to it. Each week, I'll be traveling ever deeper into the world of veganism, discovering along the way a multitude of viewpoints from the political and ethical to the practical. I'll be doing this through a series of conversations, each aiming to further illuminate my understanding and hopefully yours of all things plant centric. I'm going to be speaking with Mir Bullan, the co founder of Vegannection. Vegannection is a prepaid payment card, and the principle of it is that it's used exclusively to pay for goods, services, etc., at 100% vegan establishments, with any kind of profit earnings going back either into the card or indeed into perpetuating more vegan businesses and supporting vegan charities with a percentage of every transaction that you spend. So it's an incredible way to boost the vegan economy and grow vegan businesses. So an amazing idea, and hopefully you'll enjoy this conversation. Here's a chat between me and Mir Bullan, the co-founder of Vegannection.
For me personally, what hit the button was a speech by Gary Yourofsky, famous activist, human rights activist, vegan activist. And it was, up until that moment, I hate to admit it, but that's the truth. I was born and raised in, meat-eating environment. And for me at the time, it was impossible to imagine a single meal without an animal product. And then this speech came to us by a mutual friend. And the Gary Yourofsky, in that speech, it was a speech, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the universities. He talked about different aspects of veganism, not just the ethical side, but also the sustainability issue and the health issue, and the fact that you don't have to give up anything really to pursue the vegan lifestyle. But what really did it for me was part of that speech where he showed footage of slaughterhouses and animal farms. I know that there are so many reasons for being vegan, whether we are talking about sustainability and giving our cells a fair chance for the future, whether it's health, whether it's obviously ethical implications, animal rights. But for me, what really, really kind of made me make that decision was seeing and hearing the animals scream and weep and cry. And I remember turning to my wife saying, I don't know how, I don't know, what's going to happen, but I can't go back. I'm vegan. And she kind of looked at me, surprised, you sure? Because at the time she had been, trying to make the transition, but she obviously wasn't expecting the transition to come so swiftly. So that was the turning point for me. I often say it was like that moment in Matrix when Neo is offered red pill and blue pill, and once you take that, there's no going back. And for me, certainly, it was definitely a paradigm shift. I always try to point out to people that veganism is far more than dietary choices. For me, the way I see it is choosing to not take for granted what we've been told or what we've been taught or what we've been raised to do. And for me, it goes far beyond just not buying or not eating animal products. It goes along this path of just reevaluating the things, trying to use your common sense to gauge whether what you've been taught and what you've been said really makes sense or not. Because what followed in our lives after making the decision to go vegan was reading and speaking to people, trying to educate us as ourselves as much as we can. And so the more we kind of did the research, the more reasons we found for veganism. But yeah, it was that moment of seeing that footage that made me take that pill and go past that point of no return.
Awesome. You mentioned there that you went on this kind of journey of learning and reading,
It's an
one of
ongoing one.
discovery. Oh, totally. It never stops, right? And I'm intrigued as to when the paths started to cross over with kind of the seed of inspiration for Vegannection, because I know from sort of personal experience, like you say, once you've had whichever, I never remember the color in the Matrix, but whichever pill it is, whether it's the red or the blue, once you've had that, you do start looking at every aspect of your life from an ethical standpoint, and maybe you didn't before. You just assumed everything was as you'd been told it. So at what point did kind of the world of financing, money, banking, something we do so intrinsic to our day-to-day, everyday existence in kind of certainly in the Western world, when did those paths cross?
Well, it happened when we had our own vegan fast food. We realized very soon that we enjoy making delicious vegan versions of traditional dishes. And at the time, actually, we were we were living in Valencia, in Spain, and we noticed that there weren't really like vegan fast foods at the time. There was maybe one, and the offer was very specific, and the prices were you know they had a certain standards. And so we started thinking about creating this vegan fast food that would have, let's say, more accessible prices, that would have maybe a different offer. And pretty soon we realized that there is no vegan payment, because we were, making so much effort, buying 100% vegan products and coming up with vegan recipes and making sure that everything we do is as vegan, as sustainable as possible. Obviously, it's not a perfect world, and you have to make compromises. But then, as I said, we soon realized that when people pay with their credit cards, with their bank cards, commission, so the percentage of their purchase goes to the card companies, who unfortunately are not vegan. And so we had this feeling that we were, forced to use those, non-vegan companies, even though we were a vegan business. And so we soon realized that when we talk about paying or payment methods, there is no vegan payment option. And though insignificant it might sound, when you add up all those purchases that we make, all those purchases with credit cards that we make, the percentage at the end of the day, at the end of the week or the month, amounts to a significant amount of money that goes back into non-vegan economy. And so we started thinking about what it would be like if a vegan payment card existed. So that was the sort of the primary impulse. We were incredibly lucky of knowing some exceptional individuals, and one of the first things that happened was this night-long meeting with our dear friends who were software developers. And we had this, brainstorming session of how things could be and how we could make it happen. So that was, let's say, the beginning of everything. And then when we took it one step further, thinking about where to launch it. Do we launch it in Spain? Do we launch it somewhere else? Uh, we realized that when talking about Europe, UK is a very strong uh, country in terms of veganism, with a very strong vegan scene, obviously in London and in other areas, and it is growing as we speak. Obviously, no language barrier there, so we decided to launch Vegannection in UK, and then we followed it up by moving to UK as well. Um, but I guess that we can say that the origin of everything was, realizing that no matter how much we try to make our shopping vegan, as long as we are forced to use, non-vegan card companies, it's very difficult to call it vegan. So we created Vegannection, which is currently the pure vegan shopping experience, because the card can be used exclusively in our 100% vegan partners, which is a guarantee that the card cannot be used on non-vegan products. So there's that guarantee as well. And then on the other hand, there's the knowing that uh, the fact that you pay with that card is not funding some non-vegan endeavors. And right now we are constantly working on just improving and testing, which is why we really try hard to stay in touch with our users, speaking to them, listening to whatever feedback they feel they want to offer, and yeah, hoping to let's say raise awareness of the importance of payment as well. It's amazing that we have so many vegan products available to us, but we feel that the area where we can maybe try a bit harder is to support those 100% vegan businesses. Obviously, we are not yet in that situation in our society where we can do our entire shopping in 100% vegan places and shops, but we can at least try to get the things that we have in 100% vegan businesses, whether they're local stores or online, to do it there, because obviously it's always better to take our business to the vegan shop rather than get the vegan products in a non-vegan one. And then also uh, try to make that part of shopping when we actually pay for things vegan as well. We can say that we are now in our infancy. We've only been launched for 2 years, and so we are at the very, very, very beginning. And we feel it's something that will only grow in importance, just as um, veganism itself grew in importance. If we look back, uh, a couple of decades ago, the notion of veganism was some crazy alternative, but now it's not so crazy, and it's not so much an alternative. It's a very important lifestyle.
Absolutely. I love this point of just how kind of pervasive the finances, the financial aspect of all of our lives is, and really thinking about the contribution that we make either to a vegan business, or indeed to where our kind of credit card payments are going. I think that's, for many people, will probably be a bit of a revelation hearing you talk about that. um I know, talking to sort of energy providers recently, for example, and finding out that the animal agriculture industry had a hand either through financing or so on of the big energy providers, and so the notion of a vegan energy provider was a sort of a revelation to me a few years back. And I think for many people, the kind of idea of a financial institution not being vegan so, some of the big names on the high street, etc., will be a revelation as well. So just for those people, where will their money go when they're paying off, one of the big major kind of credit card payments that funds the animal agriculture industry, or is in essence non-vegan?
Yeah, well, that's actually a very good point, and that's one of those things that we don't naturally think about. We just use the credit cards because we have them, and of course they're very convenient, they're very practical, and you would be crazy not to use the bank card because it gives you so many options. Uh, on the other hand, it would be great to have a vegan bank, and hopefully we will grow enough someday to maybe open a first vegan bank. But talking about where the commission goes, uh, we can definitely take a look at the fact that the the banks are usually the ones who are issuing the cards, and we have to take into account the fact that banks are offering services of crediting. Um, so you have on one hand banks crediting or investing money into non-vegan businesses that in large part maybe depend on those funds. And on one hand, and then on the other side of the spectrum, we have vegan population, vegan consumers who are using their uh, bank cards and credit cards, and ourselves included, when there's no other option and you're forced to do. And then percentages of those commissions are going to the bank and obviously being pooled together and then either given out as investments or credits or loans for the animal agriculture companies or the dairy companies, or for some other projects that are non-vegan. And it's just one of those things that, as you said, you don't think about unless someone maybe points this to you. Much as I, for example, to be honest, and no, it's not something to brag about, but I've never thought about, why cows produce milk before I heard someone speaking about cows actually producing milk because they gave birth and because they have a baby to nurture. I never thought about that before. I just thought that they produce milk, and then it's not such a big deal that we use that milk. But once you saw that information, you start thinking, well, that makes sense, and you start looking at your glass of milk in a very different way. And I think the world of finance is at this stage in time where people, if they haven't started thinking about it, they will, because when we talk about ethics and veganism in general, we have covered a lot of ground so far in terms of food and clothing and energy, like you mentioned before. A lot of services, people have started looking into, having a vegan professionals and stuff like that. And I think that the finance is maybe the next step where people will be looking to take their businesses to more ethical banks, to think about how they can make their finance as vegan as possible, I guess. And we want to be those at the forefront. We definitely are in that regard, breaking new grounds. And the whole point is to, in at least from my personal perspective, to realize that uh, the purchases that you make, if they're made with your card, there is this truth that a percentage of that will go to the credit card company, which is essentially owned by a bank in reality, and is belongs to a, let's say, a higher corporate entity, and that small percentage, that small commission from you isolated might not be much, but it's not just you. It's the entire vegan population of UK, France, Germany, the entire world, and or the entire country, and then it adds up. It adds up to something that is very, very significant. So I think that in time, there will be more and more uh, awareness of that. And what we are trying to do is just provide this option. We know that it's very difficult to change habits or to change the way you do things, but it's not impossible. And if we look at the smartphones without which we can't imagine our lives, when the smartphone started, it was a relatively small number of people using them, and everyone else were just looking in disbelief, like, what are you walking around with this funny looking brick in your arm? And then gradually over time, we witnesses of how important the smartphones have become. And so this is what we are trying to do: offer people another option, offer people a vegan option for paying for your shopping. And when we talk about where the money is going, we are so proud of all of the number one partners that we've partnered with, and then as well all of the charity partners, because uh, it's very important for us that the percentage of purchases made with Vegannection card goes to the vegan charity, and our card holders have a chance to choose the vegan cause they would like to support, and then we donate that cause a percentage of each of their purchases. Apart from obviously promoting our partners, which are obviously 100% vegan. Uh, so what we are trying to do is, be someone who is going to nurture and support vegan economy. And vegan economy may be something new now because we are maybe focused more on vegan consumption, vegan consumerism, in a sense that we buy vegan products and we consume vegan products, but that's still not vegan economy in its entirety. And yeah, we hope to um, create this habit, so to speak, over time, where people will use the Vegannection card at least for a certain part of their monthly shopping, knowing that that purchase supports 100% vegan economy, supports 100% vegan charities and vegan partners, vegan businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to sort of hone in a little bit on the vegan partners that you selected, because I know, going through the list there, it's like a curated list of some of the most kind of innovative and exceptional kind of vegan producers and content makers and so on and so forth. Some wonderful businesses that you've partnered with, and indeed some wonderful charities. What's been the process of curating those partners been like? How
Of
have you
course.
found them?
Well, on one hand, we obviously have the responsibility of making sure that the partners are 100% vegan. In terms of the charity program, on the other hand, we have to make sure, for example, that the sanctuary, if we talk about sanctuaries, that they do not, feed the animals with animal products if they absolutely don't have to. And so it's very important that they're 100% vegan. When we talk about partners in terms of shops, we definitely try to start from offering the consumers, the people, a wide range of offer, and then choosing the partners. It was mutual, them coming to us as it was us coming to them. Um, there were definitely some partners that we were super keen on getting, well, all of the partners that we are partnered with, we're super keen on getting, because, as you said, they stand for excellence and innovation and perseverance. I I feel like mentioning all of their names, and I'm afraid I'm going to leave someone out. But to anyone who's listening, on our webpage, vegannection.com, you'll find a list of partners, and you'll be amazed at what they do. It's truly amazing. Whether we talk about vegan clothing, whether we talk about vegan fashion accessories, food, astonishing product. It's is just amazing. But in terms of uh, building that network, it was number one, making sure that we have the range that we have, from the hair salon to the fast food, but then also do a little bit of due diligence, and to make sure that the business is 100% vegan, to make sure that the partners that we are going to partner with are people that we can wholeheartedly stand behind, and say, this is the amazing partner we are so proud to be connected with. And that's, for me at least, the biggest reward. The people that we connected with, whether it's owners of the businesses or the people who work there, that's the most rewarding thing, because all of the partners that we have been blessed to connect with are just amazing professionals, amazing human beings, and regardless of the circumstances, super happy to have a chance to work
Yeah,
with
there's
them.
there's so many on there. I mean, it is an absolute sort of delight to go through the list there. There's so many discoveries I've made, certainly through heading through, like you say, your web page, and kind of every facet of the sort of the burgeoning vegan economy kind of covered. Do you see that, like, from your customers' feedback, that they've had that similar experience, that they've found some of your partners purely as a result of their connection with Vegannection?
Yeah, I mean, the that's one of the reasons why I decided to have the map on our webpage and in our clients' profiles, so they can click on the city and see which partners we have there, or go through a list of online partners as well and see what they have. And that's what happens. Someone might see, for example, an article that Plant Based News published about us, and be interested in just the idea of a vegan card, and then go to our webpage and then see, oh wow, I have a vegan hair salon. I didn't even know that existed. And then they'll see this amazing vegan hair salon that is our partner. Or they will, see vegan clothing brand, and wow, that's an interesting concept as well. So that's part the work that we are trying to do. It's not just uh, vegan payment; it's also promoting those small vegan businesses to our clients, and we make sure that very frequently we do special promotions or giveaways, to be very active on social media to promote our partners, to make sure that people know of all the amazing products, vegan products, that they can get, and that they can show their friends. I guess one of the best things that happened are comments of people who have taken their friends, well, before COVID-19 situation, take their friends to the vegan restaurant, or to the vegan fast food, or show them a vegan piece of jewelry or vegan piece of clothes, and that person, not being vegan, didn't even notice the difference, didn't even realize that no animal products were involved in that. And that's amazing, because I think that one very important thing is showing people that you really don't have to give up anything uh, being vegan. I know before I became vegan, I had this Neanderthalian idea that veganism is about eating leaves, and I'm not proud of that. It's just, I always say I was a product of the upbringing, and then when I started using my own mind, I realized that there's a whole new world of the same pleasures, the same quality of products, the same experience, but without the torture and exploitation and the mass murdering and everything that entails animal products. And so we are definitely, we feel blessed to be able to share this idea and vision that we have with the partners that share our values. And yes, it gets challenging at times, and uh, dealing with obviously well-established brands and fighting for the position on the market and so forth. But when you truly believe in what you do, when you truly feel like you can stand behind what you're trying to accomplish, then it's not really work. It's just something you enjoy doing, and we are quite uh, happy that we can do it with amazing people, whether it's whether it's our clients or partners.
Absolutely. I'd love to come on to some of the practicalities of the card, if that's all right. So for people who don't know kind of what the premise is outside of it being a payment card, how does it work? How do you get signed up, and then what do you do once you are signed up?
Yeah, sure. So all you have to do is just go to the web page and click on the sign up or get your free card, because we have two options that you can choose. The virtual card, that's basically all you need, because number one, it's free to get, free to use, and you don't need to download or install anything. So whichever device you have with you that has access to internet, you can use your card. We decided to do it like that on purpose, because we didn't want this virtual card to be like an application that you need to download and install, and then it takes away the memory in your smartphone or whatever. So we want it to be as as easy to use as possible. So once you sign up, it's just standard sign up form with basic information. You're all set to go. You can use your virtual card. The only thing that you do is you basically use the money transfer to put the money on your card, because the card is prepaid, and which means that you can literally choose how much money you would like to spend that week or that month or that day. Let's say you are going now that the COVID finishes, and let's say you want to go out to a vegan restaurant. Literally before you go, you can put the money on your card, and then when it comes to actual payment, is just a two-step thing. You say that you want to pay with Vegannection card, scan the QR code, the unique QR code that each card has, and accept the payment. That's it. In terms of online payment, same thing. You just choose Vegannection as the payment method, and confirm payment. That's it. So it's as easy as the normal card would be. With normal card, you have to type in the PIN to verify yourself. Here, you just scan the QR code. That's pretty much it. There's also an option of getting a physical card, and again, it's an option. You don't need it to use it, but you can get it if you want to have the physical card with you. And in terms of just planning on where to use it, once you've signed up and once you've loaded your card, you can just check the list of our partners, list of online partners, list of physical partners, and use the map to see which ones are near you, which ones are for what. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Again, free to sign up, free to use. Uh, it's You can choose, as I said before, the vegan charity that you would like to support with your purchases. Costs absolutely nothing to the user, and pretty much that's it. There's also an option of transferring funds from one Vegannection account to another, again, completely free of charge. So if anyone wants to try to see how it works for themselves, again, free to start, free to try. If you like it, great. It's free to keep doing it. If you don't want to, no hard feelings, and that's it.
It's super easy to sign up as well. I mean, like you say, it's simply signing up, filling in a form, and you're pretty much there. Um, how's kind of like lockdown in the world of COVID been for you guys? Because on one hand, I guess like the online business is probably booming, and the physical kind of establishments are probably having a tougher time. So, how's it been, and where do you kind of see it going from here? And I guess it's difficult to project exactly with the current situation, but how's your level of confidence in kind of growth at the moment?
Yeah, of course. Actually, prior to COVID situation, we had more physical partners than online ones. Just because being a small company in the beginning, it's very difficult to focus on different fronts, and so we first wanted to focus on small, local vegan businesses. And it's, as you can imagine, it's been difficult, but I have to say that our partners, the physical ones, have been so amazing because they have been trying to find different ways to continue working, whether it's um, deliveries to address wherever that was possible, whether it's organizing pickups from where they were conducting the business. So I have to say that our physical partners have been exceptional during this COVID. But what we decided to do is create our own proper e-commerce solution for those for those business owners who may not have the time or possibly the expertise to set up their own web shop, because there are obviously e-commerce platforms that you can use, such as Shopify and Etsy, and there are many others, but they obviously take time and they require a certain level of IT skills. And so we decided to ask our IT team to work extra hard on designing our own e-commerce solution, which is what we've been so proud to launch during this COVID lockdown. And so we had a couple of the partners coming to us and asking specifically about that, because obviously that was their fighting chance during this crisis. And we're just so glad that we've been able to do that. And our e-commerce solution is not like your, let's say, maybe a standard marketplace where it's product oriented, because when you go to the bigger marketplaces, you see different products, but you may necessarily not see the visual representation of the branding of the producer, or you don't really maybe find out about who's behind the product. What we decided to do is create, let's say, an individual web shop for each of our partners, representing their brand identity with the brand colors and the logos and the slogans that they may use. So we wanted to not just present their products, but the partners as well. And so the COVID, as difficult as it was to cope with the new sort of way of doing things, it was also something that motivated us and kind of inspired us to offer that e-commerce to the smaller businesses who otherwise might not have gotten to a point of having a web shop.
That's an incredible idea. What a brilliant way to continue to support the sort of vegan economy in a really tough time. I think it's admirable in the first place that you've got behind some of those smaller businesses, and then to support them with an e-commerce platform in the way that Vegannection has, I think is absolutely fantastic. Like you say, I think the current situation is, I guess, one that sort of drives innovation in as much as it causes all kinds of tragedy and more negative effects on all of us. I think I've definitely noticed one of those positives being the innovation like that.
Sure, and I'm actually very positive about post-COVID situation. Will it be all peaches and roses? Of course not. No one is expecting to uh, go through this kind of epic kind of disruption and then everything continue smoothly. But I think that the human spirit and the perseverance of the humankind is incomparable to anything. And I think what will happen is, at least the way I see it, the people will rally around the local community and they will support the local businesses. And I think that together we will slowly but surely and gradually go back to where we were, if not to a better place than we were before this crisis.
It's an interesting point you raised there, and I'd like to get your sort of take on it, because obviously retail specifically, smaller businesses, are in probably quite sort of fearful times in a way at the moment, particularly those with sort of physical space. How confident are you about that kind of future? I mean, you sound super kind of optimistic generally about some of these smaller businesses' ability to innovate and the sort of general humanity's desire to support them. Do you feel confident, from a societal, financial, etc. perspective that we will make significant kind of societal change off the back of this? I know it's difficult to predict, but
No, I mean, no one has a crystal ball and know for certain what's going to happen in the future, obviously. And I am lost to pretend to know for certain anything that's going to happen. But I think that the very important factor is going to be how long the complete lockdown is going to last. That's going to play a big part because if, for example, the government support, which has been phenomenal, at least here in UK, if the government support will be enough to kind of bridge that lockdown, then I would say that I'm super confident. But if the lockdown, let's say, lasts longer than the government funds can, bridge, then I take it as going to be very difficult for certain businesses to survive. And that obviously depends on the type of the business and the size of the business. Because it's not the same, for example, maybe a restaurant that has 10 employees and has to pay the rent, a fixed rent every month on the place, to maybe a smaller business that maybe does more on fairs and markets. So the type of the business plays an important part, and then also will the government funds be enough to bridge the gap? That also is something that remains to be seen. But I guess that my optimism comes more from my, let's say, choice to believe in people rather than knowing the for certain some economic circumstances, because circumstances change. And even though we can now debate on whether this will have long-term positive effects despite the short-term negative effects or not, it's kind of hard for me personally to not look back on all the great things that humanity has been able to accomplish throughout the history, and all the ways in which we've been able to adapt through times of difficult challenges, and say that I'm not optimistic. I cannot not be optimistic. Somehow I think that people will find a way. Um, will it be easy? Probably not. Will there be a lot of people who, even at this moment, are faced with a difficult decision of maybe changing professions or changing careers because their line of work has suffered great blows. But ultimately, I think that we will go out of this with the greatest sense of gratitude for what we have, and I think that that feeling of community is maybe going to be enhanced by the fact that we've been away from from each other for so long. I think that we are, prior to COVID, I think that we've taken certain relationships and certain people for granted, like maybe our local business owners and the friends, the colleagues, the family. We've taken certain things for granted. It's hard for me to see we go back to that. I think that after the lockdown, we'll be more appreciative of the people around us, more appreciative of, if you talk about the business side of, the business owners, the local small businesses that we know, but we haven't maybe paid so much attention to them. I think in that regard, we'll be more aware of the situation, more maybe inclined to um, do whatever we can to kind of help our community be stronger and come out, as I said before, if not the same, then better than it was before.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's a part of me that has definite optimism over that community spirit that you talk about there, and I really hope that we all do our bit to sort of cling on to that because whether it be a sort of a refound, rejuvenated respect for people who work in the care industry or uh, delivery drivers, local business people, uh, who whichever angle you look, I think we've all probably had to sort of reevaluate what's really important to us and the connections within our community that are really important. And I think it's probably incumbent upon all of us to maintain that beyond sort of lockdown and make sure that we don't simply go back. And I'd love to see that sort of future world built like that. Talking specifically about veganism, and it's sort of a similar question, but just to hone in on veganism specifically, do you, where's your overall sense of optimism for the growth of veganism? Do you think something like the current situation we're in with COVID and all the stuff we've talked about, societal change, etc., has a potential for positive impact upon the vegan community, or do you not see it making a huge impact? Where's your kind of headspace at when it comes to veganism?
Well, I think that we've already seen in certain parts of the world people realizing how much animal agriculture can contribute to, let's say, creating an environment that is particularly, uh, let's say, good to sort of create conditions for pandemic. So I think that people have maybe taken a little bit more notice, just because of the current situation. But when we talk about veganism, I think that simply due to the fact that we live in the world of this hyper flow of information, it's very, very difficult to um, avoid the information, and I think that veganism is just on the other side of being informed. I think if we look at our society and our world as a whole, there are just so many things that we don't really know much about. Like there are concepts that are fundamental, and we we can expand this conversation to not just veganism, but things such as uh, capitalism, democracy, states, countries, whatever. The fundamental concepts that we kind of all know and we are comfortable using, but we don't really know a lot about it. If we were asked, to describe it or to say what it is or to say how it works, we really wouldn't know how to answer that. When we talk about veganism, mostly obviously we talk about the diet. And the simple truth is that we never, when I say we, I refer to us as a collective. Um, we never really thought about what we ate before people started, raising awareness of that. I mean, I certainly haven't thought about how food affects me or how the food affects the world. But as the information technology developed and as obviously internet developed and grew, there are just so many sources of information. People are looking those informations not just for ethical reasons, but for health reasons, because veganism has proven itself to be the healthier option, the better option, even for top athletes. I mean, when we talk about uh, high performing athletes, it's very difficult to ignore the fact that Lewis Hamilton is very vocal about how veganism has affected his performance, his recovery period being shortened, and his level of energy, his focus. And I'm just using him now because I'm a huge Formula One fan. But not just him, but famous people as well contribute to that. People of influence, like uh, obviously we can't not mention actors like Joaquin Phoenix, who's very vocal and influential activist in the world of veganism. But not him, Sir Paul McCartney, Heather Mills, so many people that I'm just not mentioning now, and I feel sorry about that. Um, I think that as time continues to pass, more people will just come into contact with information that will speak to them about things that they care about. Some people care more about health, that's fine. Some people care more about the environment, that's also fine. Some people care more about the sustainability of our system, that's also fine. Some people care about the ethical side of it, and that's all great because veganism is the answer to all of those issues. So I'm super optimistic. I think that the more people uh, look for information, the more people ask for that, more reasons they will find for veganism. And to be honest, I see veganism as inevitable, dominant uh, lifestyle because it makes more sense in so many levels. Whether we talk about the very fact that in 100% vegan world, that would be very it would be very difficult to have hunger because the amount of food we grow now just to feed the livestock, we could feed the population of 3 Earths at least. Um, Sustainability as well. It's far more sustainable to grow plants than it is to raise cattle. It takes a lot less time, a lot less resources. So I have to say that I'm looking forward to the future. I think that technology and the even the big names, big companies are realizing that, and there's this initiative from UN that is talking specifically to the to big corporations and companies, asking them to shift their focus to plant-based products, to plant-based economy. just because it has proven itself to be the best way to achieve the sustainable development goals. So I think that the future is bright when we talk about veganism.
I'm totally with you, Mir. I love that perspective, and yeah, I think you're right. I think when we have such a wave of information coming at us, when you're talking about something that seems patently true, I like to think that truth will out, if you like. It will rise to the top, and I share that optimism around it. Um, Listen, Mir, thank you so much for your time. We've sort of come towards the end of our chat now, but it's been a pleasure talking to you. Before we wrap up, though, be remiss if we didn't mention how, again, just where to head to get ourselves signed up for Vegannection and start supporting vegan businesses.
Sure. So the page is vegannection.com. So it's VEGANNECTION, vegannection.com. And you'll find all the info there. Free to sign up, free to use. It's pure vegan shopping experience, 100% vegan partners, vegan payment method. You support the vegan charities by using it. And again, why not give it a try? Free to start, free to use. And all you can do is good.
Love that. Thanks so much. I thoroughly recommend it.
Thank
And
you.
definitely check out the curated list of businesses there. There's some absolute gems amongst them. So thank you so much, Mir, for creating it, and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on your podcast.